Hello and welcome to another exam paper walkthrough. Today we are looking at the Summer 22 series and today we're looking at paper 2H. This is only just so we can't, teachers aren't allowed to record or release these papers until a year after they've been sat. So now that 2023 papers have been sat, I can finally release some videos showing work solutions of these. So this is a past paper, obviously. Past papers are, in my opinion, one of the best forms of revision for any series of exams. So I can't recommend these videos enough. They come directly from Edexcel, from your exam board, and they've gone through a full round of a whole year of 16-year-olds and anyone really sitting the papers. So they've gone through a real rigorous level of quality assurance. So they're very good papers. Thank you very much for joining me. Subscribe if you like, and I hope you enjoy this, or at least find this useful. So this is the paper. I've just put a QR code on for the video solutions. So ahead of recording this video, I've kind of decided where it's going to go. So use that if you find it useful. There is, in the chat to this video, there is also a link to a blank copy of this paper. So I would strongly recommend you either have already done it or you have it to do alongside the video. Okay, we'll make a start. Okay, question 1. So simplify x cubed to the power 5. So laws of indices, we just times those powers together. So that's going to become x to the 15. And for part B, expand and simplify. So I'm going to do this as 2 layers. So 4x plus 12 plus 28 minus 14x. And then we arrange. I tend to put my x's first of all for a question like this. So minus 4x minus 14x would be minus 10x. And then my number part 12 plus 28 would be plus 40. And that way around, or you could have 40 minus 10x would be absolutely fine. Part C, factorize fully. So to factorize fully, we want to take out our number part. Our highest common factor of 15 and 3 would be 3. So we can take 3 out as a common factor. They've both also got an x squared in common. So I can take 3x squared out as my common factor. And then that would leave me with, I would need to multiply 3x squared by 5x to get 15x squared. And to get 3x squared y, I just need to multiply it by y. So that's going to be my fully factorized version. Okay, question 2. Describe fully the single transformation that maps S onto T. So we're going from S, we're going Question 3. The length of a football pitch is 90 metres, correct to the nearest metre. Complete the error interval for the length of the football pitch. Well, the smallest number that would be rounded to 90 as opposed to 89 is going to be 89.5. And the largest value that would be rounded to 90 as opposed to 91 is going to be 90.5. But technically we'd round 90.5 upwards, which is why we've got these inequality symbols. So this would read, the length is greater than or equal to 89.5, but less than 90.5. So that's my error interval. Okay, question 4. Festival A will have a rectangular field with an area of 80,000 meters squared. The greatest number of people allowed to attend the festival is 425. Festival B will be a rectangular field 700 meters by 2,000 meters. The greatest number of people allowed to attend Festival B is 6,750. The area per person allowed for Festival B is greater than the area for Festival A. How much greater? Give your answer correct to the nearest whole number. Okay, so for this, I'm going to say the area per person at Festival B will be 700 times by 2,000. And I want to divide that by 6,750. That will give me the area per person. And then I want to subtract from that 80,000 divided by 425. And I can just use my calculator for this. Okay, so fraction 700 multiplied by 2,000. Ooh, let's try that again. Fraction button, and on my numerator, 700 times by 2,000. For my denominator, I'm looking at 6,750. And then from that, I'm going to subtract 80,000 over 425. So double check I've typed everything in correctly. Okay, and then that gives me an answer of 19.17211 to imply I've not rounded. Give your answer correct to the nearest whole number. So to the nearest whole number, that's going to be 19. Callum says 300 centimeters squared is the same as 1 meter squared because there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So you divide by 100. Callum's method is wrong. Explain why. In area, 1 meter squared is equal to 100 times by 100 centimeters squared, which is 10,000 centimeters squared. So I could try and convert 300, but it's easier to convert this. So 3 meters squared is equal to 30,000 centimeters squared. And I'm sure that will be more than enough for my answer. Okay, question 5. L, M and N are such that L, M, N is a straight line. The coordinates of L are -3, 1. Coordinates of M are 9, 4. Given that LM to LN is 2 to 3, find the coordinates of N. Okay, so we've only got L and M. So if I look at the distance between L and M, in effect what I'm going to have to do is if I look at my x-coordinate first of all, so my x-coordinate is going to be 4 minus 7. So 4 minus 3, so 4 plus 3, so it's going to be 7. And that distance represents 2 to the distance between M and N being 3. So if I do 7 divided by 2 times by 3, that's going to give me 3.5. 10.5, and I would need to add that 10.5 onto the coordinate at M. So 10.5. So my x coordinate is going to be 10.5 plus 4, so it's going to be 14.5. Right, now I'm going to look at my y coordinate in an almost identical way. So I'm going to say for my y coordinate, the distance between my y coordinate is going to be 9 minus 1, so it's going to be 8. And then 8 divided by 2 times by 3 is going to be 12. And then 12 plus 9 is going to be equal to 21. So my y coordinate will be 21. Question 6. A new phone costs £679. The value of the phone decreases at a rate of 4% per year. Work out the value of the phone at the end of 3 years. So we've got our starting value, which is 679, and we need to times that by 4% depreciation as a multiplier would be 0.96. So 0.96, and I want to do that to the power of the number of years, so 3. So 679 times by 0.96 to the power 3 is going to give us 600.7357 ... So I'm going to say that that's going to be 600.74 in pounds and pence. Okay, question 7. In Spain, Sam pays €27 for 18 litres of petrol. In Wales, Leo pays £40.80 for 8 gallons. We're given our conversion rates. Sam thinks petrol is cheaper in Spain than in Wales. Is Sam correct? So I'm going to have to do 2 conversions here, whichever way round. I'm going to plan ahead. So I'm going to convert them both into pounds per litre. So if we've got €27 and we get 18 litres for that, then if I want to convert that into pounds, I'm going to times by 0.85. So 27 times by 0.85 is going to give me £22.95 for 18 litres. I'm going to stop there, but I might convert that again after, so I might need to make it into a, I'm likely to make, either have to convert it into pounds, how many litres they get per pounds, or a consistent unit. So if we then look at Wales, I'll leave a little gap, Wales. So in Wales, Leo pays £40.80 for 8 gallons. So I want to convert the gallons into litres, so I'm going to times by 4.5. So that's going to give me £40.80 for 8 times by 4.5. That's going to give me 36 litres. Right. So at this point, I want a consistent unit, and this one is actually twice this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to halve this one. So the price so I'm going to halve both of these, so that would give me 18 litres. So I've got the same amount of petrol, but from Wales that's only going to cost me £20.40. So that's going to be my comparable figures. So Sam thinks petrol is cheaper in Spain than in Wales. Is Sam correct? No. Petrol is cheaper in Wales. Okay, question 8, use your calculator to work out. So, got quite a complex calculation. I'm just going to type it into my calculator just as it appears. So I want the cube root. So shift and then that button. And then I'm looking at 1.57 to the power 4. And from that, I want to add on tan 60, still making sure that my square root is acting on all of that. And I want to divide that by 7.2 to the power of a half. I can type it in as a half, or 0.5 would have been absolutely fine. And provided I've typed everything in correctly, when I press equals, that should just give me my value. So I'm going to state that I've used my calc. 0.73933 ... So if I'm giving that to three significant figures, that's the third significant figure. The number behind it is a 3, so I'm going to go 0.739. Okay, question 9. A box in the shape of a cuboid is placed on a horizontal floor. The box exerts 180 newtons on the floor. The box exerts a pressure of 187.5 newtons per meter squared on the floor. Facing contact with the floor of the rectangle is 1.2 meters by x meters. Work out the value of x. Okay, so I'm just double checking my units seem consistent. Newtons and newtons. Okay, so I'm going to rearrange this. So if pressure is equal to force divided by area, then it holds that area is going to be equal to force divided by pressure. The area is going to be 1.2 times by x, so 1.2x is going to be equal to the force, which is 180, divided by the pressure, which is 187.5. To avoid typing things into my calculator a few times, I'm going to type that in as 187.5 times by 1.2, and then just use my calculator. So fraction, and I'm going to go 180 divided by 187.5 times by 1.2, and that gives me 0.8 meters. So my answer is going to be 0.8 meters. Question 10. The box plot shows information about the sales in thousands of pounds of an online store each month. Andrew says 3/4 of the given data lies between 160,000 and 350,000 because these are the values of the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So is he correct? So that is the lower quartile and the upper quartile, so he has identified the quartiles correctly, but he is going to be incorrect. It's not going to be 3/4, it's going to be half the data. Andrew is wrong, explain why. Half the data is between the lower quartile and upper quartile. Not 3/4. Okay, table shows information about the sales in thousands in a shop each month. On the grid below, draw a box plot for this information. Okay, so the least value is 30, so we've got a scale here, 0 to 100, so it's going up in tens, so 30 is going to be that value there. The lower quartile is 80, so that would be that value there. We've then got the median at 170, so that would be here. We've then got upper quartile of 260. And then the greatest value of 350. So that's quite a nice, straightforward one. They will often ask this kind of one of these values not actually given, but say, for example, give you the range or the interquartile range, and you have to work out one of the other values. But all we need to do is join that up to form a box and a line through the center. Okay, C, compare the distribution of sales in the online store with the distribution of sales in the shop. So for this, We make two comparisons, one about the median. So the median for we've got a median of 200 versus a median of 170. Let me just look. So median, and I think the 200 and 160, I think. 170. And then the interquartile range is the other one that we would comment on. So the interquartile range of this data is, we've got, well, we can kind of work it out from here. So 350 minus 160, 350 minus 160. So that's looking like 190. And then for the other one, we're looking at and we've got the values here. 260 minus 80. So 260 minus 80, which is going to be 180. So let me just check that I've got these right. This was the online store. And then we've got the other one being the shop. So now that I've shown that, I would say that the median for online store is higher, and I would say that the interquartile range for the shop is lower. And you could have the opposite of each statement, that would be absolutely fine. Okay, question 11. Kieran has 13 workers he can use for a job. He knows that 6 workers would take 14.5 days to complete the job. I show that Kieran has enough workers to finish the job in less than 7 days. If we've got 6, well, this is an inverse proportion. But I tend to do, for anything like this where we're talking about working, I would say that the amount of units that are worked, or the amount of days, total people times by the total number of days, is going to be consistent. So in effect, that divided by 13 would give me the number of days it would take 13 people to complete. So if I do 6 times by 14.5, and divide the answer by 6. So I've divided that by 6 instead of by 13. So it should take 6.6923 ... days to complete. So we'll be done in less than 7. And you can prove that, yeah, you can set this up as a direct proportion, indirect proportion, and work it through that like that. I think that's the most efficient way of doing it though. Okay, question 12. The equation of the line L1 is y is equal to 2x plus 3. The equation of line L2 is 5y minus 10x plus 4 is equal to 10. Show that these two lines are parallel. So L1 has a gradient of 2. And then if we look at L2, so if we've got 5y minus 10x plus 4 is equal to 0. If I rearrange that then, so technically speaking, I don't need to rearrange C other than to prove that they're parallel, not the same line. So we'll do that anyway. So 5y is going to be equal to 10x minus 4, and then divide both sides by 5, we get y is going to be equal to 2x minus 4/5. So they're not the same line. So also has a gradient of 2. So lines are parallel. Put one too many R's in. Parallel. There we go. Okay, question 13. Enlarge the shaded shape by a scale factor of -2 with a centre of enlargement 0, 0. So I'm going to mark on my centre of enlargement, my first step. I'm only going to look at this is my personal preference. I'm only going to look at one point. Oops. I'm going to use a ruler and I'm going to go through the centre of enlargement and extend it, making sure that I'm going in a clear line. So I can see I'll go 3 across 2 up, 3 across 2 up, 3 across 2 up. So if I'm enlarging it by a scale factor of -2, if this is 3 across and 2 up, it's going to go twice as far away the other side of the centre of enlargement. So that will go to there. And then in effect, what I tend to do is then draw the shape twice as big. So instead of being 2 across, it's going to be 4 across. Instead of going 1 across and 2 down, it's going to go 2 across and 4 up. Instead of going 4 across, it's going to go 8 across, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then I just need to join that up with straight lines. So let's try and make it as neat as we can. So that's going to be my shape there. Okay. Okay, question 14. Saffron wants to work out the estimate for the total number of fish in a lake. On Friday, Saffron catches 180 fish and puts a tag on each of the fish and puts them back. On Saturday, Saffron catches 308 and 45 of them are tagged. Work out an estimate for the total number of fish in the lake. So we're doing a capture recapture. My method for this, I tend to say that out of the total population, 180 were caught, and that's going to be equal to the fraction that were caught the other time, 305 over 45. And typically, most people tend to put these fractions the other way around, which is absolutely fine. It just saves a step. My version just saves a step in terms of simplifying. So 305 times by 180 divided by 45 will give me my answer. That's going to go in 4 times. So we're doing 305 times by 5, which would give us 1,220. But let's just double check that. So 305 times by 180 divided by 1220 gives me should have divided by the answer instead of by 45, but as I got the other version, that's absolutely fine. So 1,220. is my estimation for the population of the lake. Okay, question 15. The ratio of Marta's hourly pay to Khalid's hourly pay is 6 to 5. So we obviously get, so at the start we've got M and we've got K, and that's 6 to 5. Both of them get a £1.50 pay increase. So that would mean that if we call whatever this, they're going to get X times this. So if I call that 6X plus 1.5 to 5X plus 1.5, and we're told that now the ratio has increased to 13 to 11. So in effect, these ratios are equal. So better way to do that is the fraction. So if I say that 6x plus 1.5 over 5x plus 1.5 is equal to 13 over 11. Then I just need to solve this. So I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to have, just trying to see whether there's anything I can simplify beforehand. I can't spot anything. So 11 times by 6 is going to be 66x plus 11 times by 1.5 is going to be 10, 15, 16.5. 11 times by 1.5 is going to be 16.5. And that's going to be equal to 65x plus 13 times, well, let's just double check. 13 times by 5 is 65, and 13 times by 1.5 is going to be 19.5. Okay, so minus 65 from both sides and minus 16x from both sides at the same point. That's going to give me x is equal to 3. So that's not what we were asked to work out. Work out their hourly pay before the increase. So the hourly, so I should have put x there and x there. So Marta got 6 times by 3, so Marta got £18 per hour. And so I should really show that. So 6 times by 3 equals 18, and 5 times by 3 equals 15. So that's my two prices. Okay, question 16. We've got a three-way Venn diagram. So shop manager wants to advertise special offers on social media platforms. The manager asks 100 customers which type A, B, or C they use. Of these customers, 4, so I'm going to give them some information. I'm going to compile that information into my Venn diagram before I do anything else, or the bits that I can anyway. So 4 use all 3 types, so 4's got to go in the intersection. 16 do not use any of type A, B, or C, so I can put 16 in my outside section. 8 use both type and type B, but not type C. So that means that I can put 8 in the intersection of A and B, but not in this middle part, so 8 can go there. 14 use both B and C. It doesn't say, but not type A, so that means that use B and C. So that means that these two sections would need to add up to 14, so that must be a 14 use both type B and C. Use both B and C. So I'm going to put 10 in the intersection here. And then we've got 62 in total use type A, so we already know about 12. Okay, so these two sections would need to add up to 62, so I can't enter anything just yet. All 20 who use type C use at least one of type A and B, so that means that we cannot have anyone just using C, which helps with the other parts. So if we've got a 4 and a 10 there, that adds up to 14, so that value there must be 6. So we've used that piece of information, and then we can go back and fill in this piece of information. So these currently add up to 18. So if we do 62 take away 18, that's going to be 44 in that section there. And then all the values need to add up to 100. So we need to work out what they add up to at the moment. So we've got 44. Let's just change that slightly. So let's say 62 is all of these, plus 10 plus 16. So we've so far covered 88 out of 100. So our missing value has to be 12. So that's my completed Venn diagram. One of the customers is chosen at random. Given that the customer uses type A, find the probability that the customer also uses type B. Don't like the wording of this particularly, because that line almost implies that it's out of 100. But that line says quite clearly, given that they use type A. So we've got 62 people that use type A. Find the probability that the customer also uses type B. So we've got 12, 8 plus 2. So we've got 12 that use type B. And then we can cancel this one down. We can use our fraction to cancel. It doesn't say in the simplest form, but that's going to be 6 out of 31. If we've got part C, we have not. Okay, question 17. A solid cone is joined by a solid hemisphere to make solid T shown below. The diameter of the base of the cone is 3 centimeters. The diameter of the hemisphere is 7 centimeters. The total volume T is 120 pi centimeters cubed. The total height T is y centimeters. Calculate the value of y. Given your answer correct to 3 significant figures. Okay, so the total volume of the shape is going to be equal to the volume of the hemisphere, which is going to be equal to half of this. So it's in effect going to be 4 over 6, because all I'm doing is halving this, times by pi, times by r cubed. And we know the value of r, so I can type that in as 3.5 squared. From that, I need to subtract the volume of the cone. So we've got a full cone, so that's going to be 1/3 of pi times by r squared. So r is still 3.5 times by the height. The height of it now is y minus 3.5. Okay, and we know that that's equal to 120 pi. So let's tidy some of this up. 120 pi is going to equal, right, 4 over 6 is 2/3. I should have really done that there. 2/3 of pi times by 3.5 squared minus 1/3 of pi times by 3.5 times by y minus 3.5. Right, I've missed my squared off there. So I'm going to do a bit of tidying and simplifying before I resort to my calculator. I'm going to times by 3, so 360 is going to be equal to I'm going to take 3.5 squared. Do I want to? No, I was just thinking about factorising by taking the 3.5 out. I think that would just bring in too many brackets. So I'm going to say that that's 2 times by 3.5 squared minus 3.5 squared times by y minus 3.5. So let's start to rearrange then. So and I've just spotted while I was talking, I should have added these together. I just think about taking this over, which is looking quite complicated. I should have added them, we're not subtracting them. So if I start to look at rearranging that then, so that's going to be 360 minus 2 times 3.5 squared divided by 3.5 squared plus 3.5. That should give me y if I've done everything correct there. So let's try that and let's just think about what a sensible value would be. Well, it looks like it will be bigger than 3.5. So 360 minus 2 times by 3.5 squared divided by 3.5 squared, and from that I need to plus 3.5. That looks okay. So I've just spotted where I think I've gone wrong, and it's not a major issue, and something we can definitely correct. I should have cubed here, so let's rectify that. That should have been a 3, that should have been a 3, that should have been a 3, and then that should have been a 3. So you can just edit that. So my last calculation, I think if we put 3 there, that would correct it. Yeah. So that gives me y is going to be equal to 225.87755 ... So to 3 significant figures, that's going to be 25.9. And I've not rounded at any point, so that should be accurate. Okay, the diameter of the base of the cone and the diameter of the hemisphere are both increased by the same amount. So the diameter of the base of the cone and the diameter of the hemisphere. Assuming that the total value of t does not change, explain how this would affect your answer. So let's just think. So we've got a bigger hemisphere, which is also making, so this would have to bring down the value of y. So explain the effect that this would have on your answer. So if the volume stays the same, is the same, the height must decrease. Okay. Okay, question 18. So we've got 2 triangles. Calculate the length of QS. So that's, I'm going to call X. So if we think about to work that out, we could use the sine rule if we knew this value here. So we need to use the cosine rule to work out the value for y. So y squared is going to be equal to 11 squared plus 9.4 squared minus 2 times 11 times 9.4 times by cos of 27. So I will write down that value and that value in a little while, but then I'm going to look at x. So x over sine 88 is going to be equal to y over sine of 41. So x is going to be equal to y times by sine 88 divided by sine of 41. So I've not made that 88 very clear. Sine of 88 divided by sine of 41. Right, so 11 squared plus 9.6 squared minus 2 times 11 times 9.4 or 9.6? It was 9.4. So glad that we spotted that. So and I want to times that by cos of the angle. So times by cos of 27. Yep. That gives me a value of 25.0998. So 25.0998 ... So the square root of that then is 5.0099 ... And I'm not going to round. I'm just going to say that that value. So I want a fraction. I want answer times by sine of 88, and I want to divide that by sine of 41. So we should have 7.63. So 7.631818 ... So to three significant figures, that's going to be 7.63. Okay, question 19. The functions g and h are such that g of x is the cube root of 2x minus 5 and h of x is 1 over x. Find g of 16. So g of 16 is going to be equal to the cube root of 2 times 16 minus 5. And I think we can type that straight into our calculator. The cube root of 2 times by 16 minus 5, so 3. Part B, find hg to the minus 1 of x. So I'm going to start by trying to find g to the minus 1 of x. The easiest way to do this is to say that y is equal to the cube root of 2x minus 5, and then rearrange it to give you x, and then in effect switch the function back in. We could keep our function notation constant. I'm not a massive fan of that. It does make sense, but I think this is an easier way to do it. So 2x minus 5, add 5 on both sides, and then divide by 2. So that gives us x is equal to y cubed plus 5 over 2. So that means that g to the minus 1 of x is equal to x cubed plus 5 over 2. Now we need to put that value for x into equation h. So h of g to the minus 1 of x is equal to 1 over what we've just written. So x cubed plus 5 over 2. So that's going to be 2 over x cubed plus 5. And that's going to be my answer. So 2 over x cubed plus 5. Okay, question 20. So we've got 4 points on the circumference of a circle. ADE and BCE are straight lines. Work out the size of angle CDE. So that's C to D to E. So we want this angle here. Okay, so I am going to state this angle here. So I'm going to write that as BAD is equal to 132 divided by 2. So that's equal to 66. And my reason for that is that angle at the center of a circle is twice angle at circumference. So that's my working followed by my reason. Right, I'm then going to say that this angle here, so I'll label that there, this angle here, well, cyclic quadrilateral opposite angles add up to 180, so BCD is equal to 180 minus 66. So that's going to be 114, 114. And the reason for that is opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral are equal. And then I'm going to say that in effect this angle must be equal to this angle plus this angle. So CDE, so CDE must be equal to 114 minus 16, so it must be equal to 98 degrees. And the reason I'm going to give for that is that the exterior angle of a triangle, is equal to sum of other two interior angles. And there's nothing wrong with doing that as two steps. You could have said angles along a straight line add up to 180 to work that out, and then angles in a triangle equal 180. That's just two steps to do the same thing, really. So my missing angle is 98. Okay, the graph of y is equal to f of x is shown in the grid below, so that looks like a negative cubic, but that's irrelevant. On the grid, sketch the graph of f of minus x, so that's going to be a reflection in the y-axis, so that point would move. So let's do points. So that point is going to move to, let's try. So that point is going to move to there. That point will be an invariant point. That point will move to there. That point would move to there. And then that point would move to 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. And then I want to join them up with a smoother curve as I can. Let's just see whether I'm not certain how well this will work. I want a curved line, so I want to start there, go through there, through there, through there, and through there. So that doesn't look too bad. I would have preferred it to have been a bit more like that, but you can see that's my principle of the curve. Okay, here is a sketch of the graph of y is equal to tan x. The graph of y is equal to tan x is translated to give the vector the graph of y is equal to g of x. Following the translation, the point Q shown on the graph above moves to the point that has a coordinate of 90 minus 5. Find an expression for f of x in terms of x. Okay, well, if we imagine this point for a start, this point is going to be at 360, 0. So if that point has moved to coordinate r, which is going to be 90 minus 5, so somewhere in the region of, let's say there, 90 minus 5. So in effect, our x value has been moved by 270 degrees. So my function for x is going to be, so g of x is going to be equal to translate it 90 degrees to the left, I'm going to have the tan of x plus 270. And to translate it 5 down, that's just going to be a minus 5 outside the bracket. So that's going to be my translation. Okay, question 22. Find algebraically the set of values for x which x squared minus 49 is greater than 0 and x squared minus 32x minus 72 is greater than 0. So if I start with the x squared minus 49x and I solve it being equal to 0, that's a difference of 2 squares, so that would be x plus 7 and x minus 7. So I would have two values, either x is equal to 7 or x is equal to minus 7. So I'm looking for the purport, so in effect they would cross there at minus 7 and 7. And I'm looking where the graph is greater than 0, so that would be this section here and this section here. So I'd be describing that as x is less than minus 7 or x is greater than 7. If I do a similar thing for the second equation, so I'm going to see whether that factorizes. It may well not though. So, but if we assume it will, first of all, and then have a look. So 5x and x, two numbers that multiply together to make 72, but have 5 lots of one of the numbers, plus the other number has a difference of 31. Let's think, if we do 8 and 9, and then 5 times 8 is 40 minus 9, so yeah, that does factorize. So we've got plus 8 there and minus 9 there, giving us two values, either x is equal to 9 over 5 or x is equal to minus 8. And again, likewise, if we plot this, so that's giving us two values, minus 8 and 9 over 5. So we want the section where the graph is greater than 0 again. So we're looking at this section here and this section here. So I'm going to say that x has to be less than minus 8. And I've just spotted I've actually got my symbols the wrong way around here. That should have been minus 40 plus 9. So I've got my values the wrong way. So it should have been minus 9 over 5 or plus 8. So 9 over 5 or minus 9 over 5 or plus 8. So x either has to be less than minus 9 over 5 or x has got to be greater than 8. So if I combine these, so minus 9 over 5 is going to be minus 1.8. So the smallest x has got to be less than minus 7. Or x has got to be greater than 8. Don't know why I wrote x twice. Or x has got to be greater than 8. And that's my, those are the inequalities that satisfy both equations. So let's write that there again. X has to be less than minus 7, or x has got to be greater than 8. And that brings us to the end of that paper. I hope you found that useful. Just before I sign off, let me just show you the mapping document. Okay, so there is question numbers to the skills. So for example, if you really struggled on question 17, your additional specific revision might be surface area and volume of spheres, pyramids, cones, and composite shapes. So that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you very much for your time and watching. I hope you found that useful. Please feel free to add any questions or comments into the chat for this. I'm pretty good at getting back to you on that. And please don't forget, subscribe if you like. See you soon.